in CAP. But we've revamped the way that we do specials to allow your specials to be visualized in visual impression. Specials, they aren't really allowing you to manage specials. So I'm going to just go and show you a short demo here. I've brought in a part that's actually a peninsula from our DMO catalog, and it's actually just a 2D symbol at this point. So the first thing I'm going to do with the new specials feature is you need to have a 3D symbol file. Prior to release, CAP only allowed you to store a 2D or a 3D. Beginning with this release, we'll be able to store both. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to I inserted this peninsula top, and I'm going to take this top and make it a 3D version of it. So a 3D version of that top next to it. Let me just move it aside a little bit further. Okay. What I used to do before, you have to clean the graphic so that we can make a change. So I'm going to select undo part, and I'm going to undo the 2D part. And you'll see a new thing down at a new question down at the command line in AutoCAD. Do you want to remove the CAP attribute definitions? In this, it's defaulting to no, and I would encourage you to say no, because what this is going to enable you to do is do less time when you create a special. So now I'm going to say no, and then I'm going to do the same thing on the 3 symbol and retain everything. Now what I'm going to do is these are 30 by 72 inch work surfaces. I'm going to pretend we need a by 57. So I'm going to stretch both of these, and I'm going to back 57 is what, 5 inches? All right. So I go back 5 inches. So I have modified my graphics at this point. And now what I'm going to do is go into the special wizard. And you'll notice some changes in here if you guys are using specials now. I'm going to go into Make CAP Part. The order of the dialog has changed, and the order of the dialog has changed is prior to this on specials you had to do a typing to type in all of your special information. So this dialog now asks you to select the 2D objects. It's going to map these 2D and 3D together, so things like swap 2D to 3D and other things work properly. So here in this dialog, you also notice that we have a check mark that allows you to manually set the tag properties, or if you turn this off, it'll keep the previous tag properties, the location and things, so you don't do those again. And then if you want this to visual impression, make sure that you've checked this box that says include a 3D block. So I'm going to select the 2D objects I want to include. And here, if you see for a base point, it's given me the X and Y coordinates, and it's also retained my base point. So I don't have to reselect those again. I can select next. And then it's giving me now to select the entities and 3D insertion for my 3D block. So I'm going to select the block, the 3D entities. And I'm going to keep the point it's giving me. Because I stretched them equally, the insertion point should be perfect. I'll show you in here, you can actually rotate this piece around. And if we're looking at how we want things to visualize, you can also show these layers in separate colors so you can tell whether the 3D graphic is layered properly. Next here. And then see now, because we left the attribute entities before, now you still have all the information that you needed for that to create that special from the original part number. So I made this a 65-inch work surface, so I think it's 67 actually, but I'm going to come in here and I can change this to 67. We put the word special before it so you can identify it, but you can overwrite that as well. I'm going to come in and say 67. And then I'm going to just a price, so a temporary price now, so that I can save that. things you'll notice is it remembers the manufacturer code it came from, and it adds the asterisk for you automatically for those of you that have been adding asterisks to identify items in Worksheet. I'm going to say next. And now I can save the item into my custom catalog, or I don't have to. And one of the things that has changed is if I choose not to put it into my custom catalog, it will survive a purge. Recognize those entities, and if you were to purge that, it doesn't purge them out of the drawing. So if you create a 3D, it won't disappear on you. Save it in my custom catalog and finish. So now I want to insert more of those. I can go to Project tab, and I can insert those from my PC4. I've got a special dash WS67 WSU, and I can drag those in, so I can put multiple of them in my drawing. Now I'm going to erase the 3, because typically in visual impression we're going 2D to 2D. So I go ahead then, and I'm going to define a scene around that work surface. See how this shows in visual impression. And now when I go over to visual impression to visualize my scene, you can see in the top, okay? If I select that top, it'll show you that that is a special 67-inch work surface, and I can assign all of my materials here as well. Now, a couple of decisions we made on this. I realize when you order a special for most manufacturers, you're giving them the that you want, but we wanted you to still be able to change that finish should your customer change their mind in visual impression. So we do have those finishes available to you. Okay? Huh? Yeah, you brought up a good point. You can also, it's also opened if you want to put your own in there. Let's say you have a special finish for this part, you can do that as well. Okay, so I'm going to exit out of here for a minute. The other ability here is, and I have a couple of other things in the drawing. Right now I've got 2 of those work surfaces. When I go to Worksheet now and create a worksheet from here, and I'm going to ignore any 3D objects I have in the drawing for right now. And you'll see now there's a link also between specials in your drawing and specials in Worksheet. So what it does is it actually brings over the catalog code with the asterisk on it. And if I turn on my special catalog, it actually marks it as a special, which means that if this is checked, it will it'll survive an update against catalog and be identified as a special. Okay. To this is, let's say, I'm going to go back for a minute. In some of the dealers that I talked to, they were putting a special in while they waited, changing the graphics and then waiting for the special number to come back from the manufacturer. With this new feature, you can do that as well. And Edit Chart has updated so that when I select the special, it brings the information up. I can edit, let's say in this case I want to take special off the part number. Down here in the corner I can update every special in the, and I also can have it at the same time update the custom catalog. So let's say what's in the catalog. So if I hover over this, you'll see that the part number here has changed as well. So if I have multiple in my my drawing, I can change those all in one step, which you weren't able to do before. Everyone? I muted, so... should I watch it another time, maybe? Can you mute everyone for a minute? Questions?
Anything else change?
Is there any questions? I think we're all unmuted now.
Let's do that one more time.
We can. Is there any questions before we mute everyone again?
Can specials be supported in CAF and Visa?
Yes. In both. Yeah, I think we can mute everyone again.
Yes.
If a question comes up...
Because we still have more stuff to put in. If you don't save it to a catalog.
If you pass the drawing to another person, it will. Okay, one other part of this is, and we'll walk through this again, is you can actually bring in your own 3D drawings into this as well. So I have a situation here where I wanted to show like a 6-inch notch corner out of a work surface. So I had, and I modified the 2D symbol, the 2D cap symbol, so I have a 2D drawing here. And then I'm just going to insert what I have on my own drive. With the symbol that will match this. So and I'm going to bring that into the places. And I have a 2D here and a 3D here. And make that part again. And then select object. And go ahead and place the tag where it is. So I'm going to select these. In this case, I'm going to select a pick point or an action point at the node, which I've retained from my 2D work surface. Here I'm going to select my 3D layers. Pick that same node. Oops. Let me try that. There you go. And then in this case, I want to make sure that my height is correct. So my default height in this case, I believe, is 27.75. I don't remember exactly, but that sounds good. And again, I ask it to retain that information about my part. It retains the information and the options that are available for that part. So now I can go in here and I can this out and say it's a WS64 cut. I'm going to call it cut 6 for a 6-inch cutout. And down here I'll say with 6 left hand. Again, I've got an outrageous price for it, so it's $1,500. And go to next. Now, on that, if you noticed on that thing back there, you can still add the options manually, but a lot of the feedback we had was we wanted to retain the options from the actual from the standard manufacturer part. So I'm going to go to my specials selection again. And then I'm going to now take these over. They're now, I'm going to go ahead and take these over into visual impression. Create a theme so I don't get the other ones that I did. Yep. And now I'm going to visual impression, visual scenes. You're actually going to see two desktops in here, because I left the 2D and the 3D in the drawing. It's going to give me both of them. But so you can see that the geometry actually changes on those items. That's a notched work surface. And again, all my materials for that surface are available, so I can switch them here and then do everything I need to in visual impression.
Came up. Can you start with a polyline, or does it have to be a cat part modified?
You can start with anything. One of the tricks here is going to be finding an appropriate 3D, or you actually drawing the appropriate 3D to match. But you can start like this work surface. I drew. I actually drew it as a solid, and we modified it, brought it in.
Should add to that you start with anything in CAP. In Giza, you're a little more restricted. Giza doesn't support every AutoCAD entity and AutoCAD import. So, right.
So insert any DWG. So if you have a source for DWGs, or if you want to do your own 3D or modify any of our existing, you can do that too. I don't. Any other? Or this feature? Do you think it's going to be helpful?
Part to render.
It does. It has a special cat part to render. That's how impression recognizes it to be able to render it. So you do get a cat part.
Awesome. Love it.
We were hesitant to kind of change the dialogues, but as we started working through it, the way dialogues are appearing seemed to make more sense, and the fact that we got was basically able to retain as much of that, the original part information as possible is valuable. And then also the whole idea that, I should show you this too, let me go back for a minute. To apply options to these in the drawing, I can do that as well. So, can I specify? What's that? I just lost it. Option using the standard options in the worksheet as well. So I can come in and I can option them in here just like I could before. Okay.
Can you also go over the undo cat part, info part again, please?
Let me bring in a regular part. So I have a regular work surface and bring this in. So I'm assuming that you want this for visual impression as well. So I have a regular 36 by 24 inch work surface here. Zoom in a little bit. And I want to swap this to 3D so that I have a 3D version as well. So I'm going to copy the plan to 3D. The 3D on the bottom and the 3D on the top. Undo cat part, I click on item, and then a new question comes up that says, do you want to remove the cat attribute definitions? If I say yes here, it assumes that I start from scratch. It's not going to retain anything from that block. But if I say no, it'll retain the part number and the description and everything, so I can just modify the changes I need to make. Go ahead and undo this cat part too, and again say no. And then if I say I want to stretch those, you then use the stretch feature, and if I grab it correctly, I can stretch everything however far to the left or right that I want to. Stretch it 6 inches. Can do hasn't really changed. The only thing that's changed on that is that additional question as, you know, once you create a special, not having, you still have the choice whether you want to save it in your custom catalog or not.
Yes, work in block editor as well.
What?
You can model a symbol however you want. Using blocks, using drawing tools, solid tools. At the end, when you got the geometry you want, you have to use make cap part.
If you do a 2D graphic and a 3D graphic and go through make cap part, you should be good.
Mhm. Yep.
Requested that we show the Giza users how to do a special. Would you be able to do that in this session?
I don't know if Giza working for this session. We can do that the next time then.
Okay. And then when will the specials be available?
It's available in the fall. It's probably October, early November, service pack release, through Software Manager.
You have to make the 3D for this to work.
You have to have a 3D symbol for this to work. In Vision, right. For you to be able to visualize it. You don't have to if you're just doing a 2D drawing, that's fine. You can still do that.
Okay, well, great.
So let's put that on the agenda for next time. I'll show the Giza one. The Giza one will be released at the same time, so.
Correct. You do not make the special in 3D, then it's made over to visual impression.
That's correct. It uses the 3D symbol.
Okay. Questions on specials? Fun? Will this for towers as well?
For anything that you want to draw in 3D.
Confirm the release date and specials. It will not be available till next month. Okay. Move on to open discussion. Questions on any other topics or features inside visual impression? Please use the raise hand feature. We'll unmute you, or use the chat window, and we'll be happy to ask on your behalf.
You want me to just back to you?
Questions are coming in here. Change the 3D height and visual impression.
You can always change the 3D height and visual impression by going to your Cat Designer pull-down menu under Edit and change 3D height. You can change 3D height there. You can also, when you're making the special, you can change your default height. There's a DH designator in the specials dialog that will allow you to change it as you're making it.
Oh, they can't see the screen. Can you reshare?
That's because I passed the...
I'm going to give it back to you. Get the screen back up here and re-show that section in the 3D height.
So under edit, there's change 3D height. So when you select that, you can change the 3D height of any of your selected items. That is in cap, cap part. Let's see. I'll do those two that I just inserted, and I'll select the 2D cap part, and it's picked the right point here, so I'm going to select next, and then I can select objects on the 3D cap part. And right here, under DH, is the height, and because I get to retain the information from the original part, it's already set there to 29 inches. Override it at this point if you want to bring it in higher or lower. Whatever.
Are there enhancements? Sure.
Impression?
Can you bring us in visual impression, or which architecture?
It's no impression, so we'll go over there.
Better explained to have more control of the shape of the exterior wall.
No, there's no change in the shape of the exterior wall for the service pack. We do that in the future, but I don't do that yet.
Okay, to give it
right
in the room. Okay.
However, now with the special feature, it's been suggested that you could turn your walls into specials if they're drawn in 3D, and turn on the system walls that are inside visual impression. So you could architecture in that way.
You change the direction of door swings?
currently.
A CAD building layout and visual impression.
There isn't currently, except what is just described, which is making a special out of your interior walls. That's something somebody suggested to us. Honestly, I haven't tried that, so I don't know what that does to your floor at this point. Question about a fly-through? What's the specific question?
A feature that is coming. When can we anticipate that feature?
We released an animation feature in the last, and I think we demoed that in the last the user forum. Did we demo animation or no? Okay. Animation feature today. That let me load visual impression here real quick. I don't have this scene I have right now is not really conducive to a good animation, but I'll show you what we have. Under tab, you now have a thing here that says Manage Animations. What it does is allow you to navigate to a place in your drawing by using your mouse to navigate, and when you press the plus sign, it retains that place. So I could then zoom maybe way out and take another kind of that in time. Let me do a bird's eye view. Take that. Zoom to a different direction. Take that. And as you can see, I'm building a film strip on the side. And then you can change transition time, which is the time that it takes to go from one of these pictures to another. I can also change the wait time, which is how much time it sits there once it gets there. And I can also add comments to each slide. So like this, let me just add something here. This is my special peninsula top. When I set that, I can play that back. So what it's going to do is it goes to each one of those stopping points, and then the computer provides the transition between each one of them. this is released in the software today, so, are you getting any feedback? Is that what they're looking for?
Yes, and, animation be exported to somebody that does not have visual impression?
It can, but you have to do it using some recording device of your own. So there are free recording software on the web, or some you know are using Camtasia. You can capture it that way. We don't have a way to save it as a movie file right now. It kind of stays in the presentation paradigm as we put those assets together, but you decide how you want to present them.
Using Cast-O-Matic to record animations, and there's multiple outputs, MP4, AVF, SLV, GIF. Which format do you suggest is best to send to clients?
I don't think it matters, depending on what your clients are using. One of the that I've actually seen a dealer do is take the MOV file and send it to someone with an iPad, and they can show it on the iPad. So it depends on what your output is needed.
View the animation in high quality or just the standard quality?
You can view the animation in standard quality, and the reason for that right now is it takes a whole lot of machine resource to be able to create a high definition animation. So one of the things we're working on is kind of improving our SQ level of rendering with regard to glass and chrome. Pretty equal you're seeing being able to be produced in this amount of time.
Unrelated to animation, users said they've noticed that several laminates and fabrics come in horizontally versus vertically. Can we rotate the finishes in visual impression or in visual materials?
Steve, we can't right now.
Not inside the software completely. They take that laminate, save it as a peg, rotate it in paint. They can add back in as a custom material.
Okay, thank you. Can there be fine-tuning on the final coloring of objects such as an aluminum painted items? They were a little bit purplish, pinkish in HQ+.
Okay.
It's all advanced visual materials, you know, walk about it all.
Yeah. Oops. Sorry, I'm with WebEx. Visual materials.
There's also the other items in the room.
Yeah, that's a good point too. If it's anodized aluminum, it's going to be reflecting a lot of the light that's bouncing around the room. And if you're seeing it come purple and pink, then you have something purplish in the room that could be affecting, like a purple wall or purple fabric on a panel. But in this case, the visual materials let you come into, any material, whether it's manufactured or from third-party suppliers or our generic materials. Once you find one that you want to use, you can create custom material out of it, and where you can set a number of settings that affect the rendering. If it's reflecting too much, you can make it more of a matte finish in the coating field, the coating column, or rough finish. If you want to colorize it, you can also do that. You can make it blackish, perhaps, or reddish. And go more grayscale on that.
Yeah.
Dot down.
So you can find the color that you want through here.
Once you find the one you want, like she's made a little grayish brownish, you just say save and put it in. And over in visual impression, you use the advanced materials function to add that, or to use that finish on a product, on a layer. Sorry,
hang on, I'll get there. use that special finish on this leg. We can do that. And it's advanced. And so my palette and picking that, sorry, should have, and taking and dragging it onto the blue. When I put it back on, you'll see it's got a little different tint to it.
You can go to HQ or HQ Plus to see the secondary.
It's a little bit hard to see.
A couple other questions are coming in. Will there be any enhancements to lighting? Sometimes the lighting comes in too bright.
We're always making adjustments to the lighting, but in general, we don't want you to have to set all of your own lights. So if there's a problem with the lighting, let us know. Some behavior.
Yeah, but the lighting is so it's so affected by how big the room is and what type of furniture is in the room, and you know whether the furniture is blocking the rays of light as they cast around the room. So we have the overall lighting control on the dashboard there. We have two lighting settings, one for hue and one for standard quality. And so if it's too dark, you can crank this up. If it's too light, you can crank it down. If the colors are not coming out the way you want, this is another place where you can affect that. Those that work in a fluorescently lit office know that the colors of our clothes look different than they do in the store where we bought them. And that's all because of the color of the light that's used. So you can choose between fluorescent, incandescent, daylight there, and it affects seeing in a very subtle manner. And then add your own light to the room and brighten areas that are too dark using automatic calculations.
You can add ceiling lights, different types of pendant lights, but you have to put that a little bit the right effect.
Okay, on lighting, but I have a user that's been on hold here due to the new questions coming up. What's the best way to change the window heights and visual impressions so they are all the same height?
Well, the best way, the only way to change them right now is to go into your room setting and let me put a window here real quick. Clear. When you click window in plan view, it allows you to change the width, and you can set that to a specific measurement. Thing when you go to side view in elevation, you can see different widths and heights. So if you see on the left-hand side, if I want that to be 95 inches tall and 3 foot off the ground, I can do that. If I want to bring it down, I can do it. But really, you have to adjust each individual window in here.
Yeah, the best way is in side 2D, as Cindy's showing, one at a time, and match up the dimensions to the next. It's easier to do it here, in my opinion, than it is in 3D, because you get the measurement guide.
Yeah, in 3D, it's all.
Don't forget the arrows, because depending on where the windows are.
What elevation your window's on.
Yes.
That's I didn't hit the arrow because that's the only window I had.
Yeah, but that's confusing. If you've got a window on both the front and the back wall, you have to rotate around the room in order to grab the right one.
For instance, that's the live window, and then
Grab it there
you
because
can't
it's
grow it.
right
Yeah,
through
because
it.
you're seeing through.
Is there a way to make the window look more commercial, like a commercially fixed window?
I can put it in as a feature request. I can tell you it's in as a feature request, but the window is what we have right now.
In the spec, you'll be able to change the material that is seen outside the window. I don't know if you will.
Yes, what Steve's referring to is in the next version that comes out, you'll be able to change the background of the window. If you go into materials, we have a background palette, and there are different materials that you can choose to show out here. Depending on the size and scale of your window, it affects how these are shown. You can add user-defined materials from your palettes in here too, so you can actually select and create your own background images.
Okay, great. Some, like, the new measurements on the sides, in the side 2D view, how can you come back?
We shouldn't use them, and lose them, and I've seen this, and it's kind of happening randomly right now. It's entered as a bug to begin looking at that, but it seems to be happening like once you go through. So my advice at this point is try again.
Okay. When you create a custom material, do you have to keep dragging it over if you will make modifications to it?
Yeah, modification, you do have to drag it over.
Okay. Change textures to individual parts, such as gables, etc., directly in visual impression.
I don't understand that question.
You can change the frame of a window or the frame of a door, but you can and now the background of a window or an outside door, but you can't change things like the hinge color or the knob color.
Having the knob maybe as chrome and the door as wood.
I think anyway.
Oh, it would be nice to have an under cabinet light that is more for our overhead cabinet and not a kitchen cabinet, something that can be different with possibly.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Will there be a feature to capture the plan view and snapshot with the blue wall showing? The snapshot, is there a way to capture it without the blue wall showing?
No, they're right now. We can enter it as a feature request.
The user that asked about applying textures to different items, it was not actual features, but furniture pieces like on hutches.
Can you read the first question again?
Sure, the first portion of that question, put it together here. Change textures to an individual part, visual impression. Not a textual feature, but furniture pieces like on hutches.
Hold on a second, I think I know what you're asking. Go out here for a minute. Let's put in hutch. Understanding what you're asking properly, I think if you want to apply different textures to different parts of the hutch, what you're going to want to do is use visual materials. So you select this, go into your advanced tab, and if you click on this, it'll tell you what different the symbol is set up to receive different textures. So if you want a different texture on the door than the rest of the, you can do that if it's hold properly for you to be able to do that, and that's going to vary by manufacturer. So, I don't know who's asking that question, but let me make sure are we answering it correctly?
Hey, Pat, you unmuted. Did you want to further explain your question or let us know if this is what you were hoping to get answered? If you phone unmuted, we can't hear you. Oh, never mind. We'll just have to communicate. He's not on the phone. He's just listening in here.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay. That's the question. If we're not answering the question, let us know, and we'll get you an answer for it.
Cindy, he wasn't asking if you can modify the manufacturer's finishes, is he?
Well, I want to put his own finishes on there, but
Okay.
either way, you do it the same manner. You have to find the layer that you want, right? And you can get them from Visual Materials and drag them over on there.
While it's few though, I have customers saying that they're having trouble with against furniture when we close the drawing after placing the wall where we want it. Then when we open it again, the wall is inside the furniture.
Making changes within that scene, that is possible. So if we can take that one offline, I'll be glad to show you, because I need to look at the drawing to be able to help you with that one. And know what the changes are. Typically, the walls get sized, the room gets sized based on your initial scene definition. So if you then put more furniture in there or redefine that scene, sometimes the walls will need to be moved and adjusted.
Is there a way to line that hutch directly to the wall without going through it, or?
Yeah, you just go into, sorry, I'm fighting with WebEx again. 2D view, and we now have collision detection here. If you turn collision detection on, I can move that wall, and it won't go into the space of the credenza. It kind of collides with it.
Here's a question: how do you get the hutch off the floor?
If you put hutch in drawing, what you have to do is you change. If I come out here, remember we showed you that default height, change 3D height, and you go into edit, say change 3D height, you select your hutch, and then you move it to where your default height you want it to be. You know there are some manufacturers that put those on the floor, so you're going to have to figure out what the bottom height is.
Same thing's going to be true in Giza. Everything has to be at the right spot in the drawing for visual impression to know where it should be. So there's an elevate tool in Giza if you're a Giza user.
How do you take your saved VI snapshot and bring it to 2012 to print on the same title block as your plan?
We're going to have to take that one offline.
Okay.
The model space is a short answer, but it's a pretty long demo.
Okay. How can we the scale or cathedral look of wood grain on an item?
Well, if it's a manufacturer supplied texture, there's not a whole lot we can do. You would have to then make it a visual impression texture. Sorry. You need to take it into Visual Materials, and I don't know if we can even modify the. Can we modify it there? Because the mountain looks on the wood grain. Yeah. So you.
The best way would just be find a different grain sample.
Visual Materials that works, yeah.
Or out on the web or whatever.
They can modify a manufacturer's finish. They have to say that it's a custom, and then they can modify.
But they.
We can change the scale of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
That might zoom it in, but I think we just want a different grain pattern.
That's what I think too.
You need to go find an example of that grain and use it in.
Okay, currently you can't change the 3D height while in visual impression. Will you eventually be able to do this?
We're not allowing you to move anything in CI by design. A lot of that is to protect the integrity of the drawing, and especially when you're handing that off to a salesperson who might be using it with worksheet only, we don't want to allow them the ability to move things and maybe not have the right configuration. Some are very simple, and we understand that. We're in session now, but for right now, you won't be able to move anything but accessories and height. Thank you for the feedback, though. The feedback helps us make future decisions, so.
Okay, that question that I had that came through the chat window. Got a minute left. Are there any other questions you had that you needed addressed? Are we able to rotate furniture in visual impression?
To move items in visual impression, if you want to rotate them, you have to rotate them in the drawing packet. The reason I was just mentioning at this point.
Change the dimension in 2D. Sometimes the top and bottom navigation bars cover the dimension. Is there going to be a fix for this?
It's gonna happen every once in a while. Just zoom out a little bit, like it kind of resizes it, and then you can't read just a little bit of the dimension line, but you just zoom out.
Okay.
Okay, here's a question about the metallic paint finishes rendering mirror-like, very reflective. Is there a fix for this?
What we discussed earlier, you go into visual materials and you find that material, you make a conversion of it, you color pick, and then you pick some properties that are less reflective. Now, if this is not in a manufacturer that you use frequently, you could request that the manufacturer properties by default on their data.
I'll stay for a minute in the metals like we were before. If you go into this create custom material, you can take any of the metals and you can change what the finishes look like. And you can play with this a little bit, but you can to create your own custom material. So if it's too glossy and you want it to be more of a matte finish, or you want it to be more of a brushed, brush finish more than a polished finish, you can do that all in here.
New feature coming in the next service pack, so you can see the result of these changes inside visual materials without having to go back to BI.
Oops. Sorry, I'm trying to show it, but
you can use a generic cube or a sphere here, and then whatever material is currently highlighted in the list above gets applied to that, and then if you put it into HQ or HQ Plus, you'll see some of the reflectivity properties come into play.
Anything else?
Any other last minute questions before we end this session? All right, questions come up before the next session, which we have scheduled for November 22nd, I believe, which is the fifth Tuesday. Email anyone. We'll be sure to ask the question in the next session. If you need an updated list of manufacturers that are enriched, that's available on our website or through 2020.net. Also posted to 2020 is the frequently asked questions for visual impression products, a forum, and a slew of information that you'll find helpful. Thanks for a successful menu. Have a great rest of the day.